Let's paint those sunflowers. I'm using several mixes of my cadmium yellow medium. I have one mixture with cadmium yellow medium plus some of my mud, which is 2 parts of ultramarine blue and 1 part alizarin crimson. I've also added a little bit of cadmium orange into that. I have another mixture of my cadmium yellow medium plus a little cadmium orange, a little mud, and a little alizarin crimson. Then I have some pure cadmium yellow medium, and then I also have cadmium yellow medium plus a little bit of cadmium lemon. So that's my mixtures, I'll say it in a minute, for my sunflowers. And I work my flowers first. I block in the flowers first and leaves last. So I start with my darker mixtures, and that's the cadmium yellow medium plus cadmium orange plus a little alizarin crimson plus mud, and then also my cadmium yellow medium plus mud and a little bit of orange. And this is on a gallery wrap canvas, an 18 by 24, and I'm painting around the one side there. Just get my color on around. And the light's coming in from the right, so the flowers on the right side. Tell you what, my tongue is just getting twisted today. The light is actually coming in from the left. And so my flowers on the right side of my flowers are going to be darker. I'll say it in a minute. It's getting toward the end of the day and I'm tired, but we want to get our sunflowers blocked in here. And I put kind of a mishmash of color up there. Let one kind of come down over those peppers. They're in these blue pots. That blue pots just gives a little extra color up here. There's so many oranges and yellows and reds that just gives a nice break to all that color. And that cool blue just makes these yellows and oranges all seem the warmer. Putting cool colors next to warm colors, it makes the warm colors appear even warmer. I'm going to break a flower up over this part of the little fruit stand there. Just again, give a little variation, give some depth by bringing that up higher. Then everything's just not the same level here. So I've got my flowers blocked in. Now, clean my brush out, and I'm going to paint my foliage, block in my foliage around that, these big leaves of the sunflowers. And these are mixes of phthalo blue plus cadmium lemon. And then I also have just a mixture of phthalo blue plus white. And I start just working around that. My yellows. I use the greens to kind of shape my blossoms. And again, I use various shades here. You don't want your greens and all your leaves to all just be the same shades. Paint over those peppers. Let some of these leaves break down over the edge of the containers. Then I have a little lighter mixture. You can see I'm using a lot of color on my brush. I pick up a couple of colors on the brush at the same time. And that just gives me some variation within the brush strokes. And I'm going to work around the edge of the canvas here. I block in the flowers pretty quickly. Now I'll come back and do a lot more work on them, but this initial block in goes pretty quickly. This is just establishing my shapes. This is phthalo blue plus white. Just give some cool brush strokes in there. Now I'm going to add the centers of my sunflowers. And this I use a mixture of just my mud plus some liquid. And these flowers that go around, the centers of the sunflowers are a disc. But when they, from the side then, they become, you get a perspective. That disc is a little bit more in perspective. It becomes an oval, central disc. And this gives, these already, just by putting those dark centers in the sunflowers, these already are looking like sunflowers. I think I'm going to let that one show more. So yeah, I like that better. You can see up here the flower is kind of going over the top of that bouquet so that the disc becomes more oval. Have a flower in here. Now I'll be able to come back and add my highlights on the petals. I lay the color on top of the... I'm going to even make this rounder. Make that one show more. That's already looking like sunflowers. Just again, I get my initial flower color blocked in, then I'll work the leaves around that color, and then I'll come back after I get the centers in. Then I come back and start making the details on the flowers. This one's going to be a little more disc shaped. Now this goes pretty, like I say, this goes pretty quickly. And I'll show you on one of the flowers how I come back and finish the petals. Oh, I just lost my tissue. I have it on a wire, with a wire, and then it goes up, has a loop and goes onto a hook, and I pulled off my tissue and it just jumped off of that hook, so it fell on the ground. Let me hook it back up. And but anyway, this is pure cadmium yellow medium, and I get a lot of paint on my brush, and then I hold my brush very lightly. I don't dig into the canvas. I hold my brush very lightly and just lay the color on top of that green. See, and how my brush picks up that green? So each stroke I make, I have to clean my brush. I have to wipe my brush. I'm going to use a little bit bigger brush. I'm also going to use some of my other color, and again, I just lay that color on the canvas, on top of the paint, on top of that green. Because if you dig in, you're going to pull that green up, and you're going to make your blossoms are going to get muddy. So this is, now since the light's coming in from the left, it's going to hit those petals on the right side, because the petals on the sunflower come forward a little bit. So the petals on the left side of the flower are actually going to be a little bit in shadow. So I bring some of that, I like to bring some of those reds and oranges into my sunflowers. Just gives a nice variation in them. Now this is my cadmium yellow medium plus cadmium lemon, and this gives me a nice highlight. And again, you just carefully lay that color on top of the paint. Hold my brush very lightly and just let it lay on top of that paint underneath. This gives nice texture, and you don't get muddy colors. Do one here. And this, I'll do this on all the flowers. Now this flower is kind of going down a little bit, so the petals down below get a little more light on them. Now up here, this is more in shadow. And I like those variations in color. Now this flower's actually underneath this top one, so I'm going to bring a petal or two down. Now these flowers are turned more toward the light, so they get a little more light on them. Again, I have to be very careful not to pick up that green underneath. See how that, even as lightly as I'm pulling, I pick up that green. So I have to keep watching, wiping my brush out. And then this is going to catch, the sun's going to catch a little of those petals, and then these down here are going to catch a little light. And again, I have my reference material on my tabouret to the right of my easel. And I have pictures. I work from photographs. So that's, and this is how we paint the sunflowers. I appreciate you watching my YouTube videos. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you want to see the complete step-by-step progress of this painting, visit my blog. When it's finished, you'll also see the finished image on there. And the blog, the link to the blog is in the description below. It's also on the final frame of my YouTube video. So these flowers right in here are pretty much finished. Now one thing I do need to do is come back in that dark center. The center of that is even darker. There's the seeds, the way the seeds are. So I just make a dark, even darker circle within that. This one's going to be disc shaped. And I'm going to let a little light hit this leaf coming out here. So again, thank you so much. You have a wonderful, wonderful day. And just tell somebody that you love a lot today. Just tell them I love you. You have a great day, and I hope you come back and visit the studio again soon.